Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape, vinyl tape,
carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. Today, I've got these two fantastic gentlemen that are going to stun you, mesmerize you, inspire you. They're going to do all of that, brother, and just overall, just uplift you. Come on, fellas, talk to me. How are we doing today?
We're doing well. We maintain it, bringing that life, and that light to the world, and we always connecting and dancing in both spaces, bringing the light and the dark together, and just really helping that awakening transform humanity across the world. So that's a little quick intro of how we doing right now, but feeling good, man, being on this call with you.
Absolutely.
My brother.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you the platform before we get started. So the name of your business is KYDS.
Yes, okay. KYDS.
Yes, and give me how the acronym and what the acronym means.
Okay, sure. I'll start things off and pass it off to Brother Rod.
Okay.
But KYDS, Conscious Youth Development and Service, our mission is transform youth, schools, and communities through holistic practices. And we really focus on diving into the internal self, beginning with the body, understanding I am with the nourishment I put inside my body, and understanding the proper mechanics of a proper diet and nutrition, right? Because it all affects our mind, our emotions, our body, our physical health, and understanding that's the blueprint, to reach a higher state of being, just starting with the diet of what I'm putting inside my body, all right? Because the ingredients of the food become the ingredients of my body. Understanding it's the same thing with the mind. We are what we eat and we are what we think, and just understanding the proper even diet and nutrition of what I'm putting inside my mind, not putting that junk music, that junk TV inside my mind, but having full discernment of what I am putting inside my mind,
yes.
And lastly, connecting to that soul aspect, man, and this is the true transformation and using the power of the breath, the tools and modalities that we have inside of us, the body, simple movement, breath work, mindfulness, meditation, whatever you want to call it, but different ways I can connect back to myself, to bring more healing, all right, so I can bring more wholeness and well-being throughout the world.
Yes. As they say in church, come on, somebody. Roger, talk to me.
I know he came to the Holy Ghost tonight, man. You got him in a good time.
Oh, man. No, I love that, man. No, I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but I've watched you guys grow this business. So I'm excited, man, to get a chance to interview you guys and give you this platform to tell your story, right? So, Roger, you wanted to add to that?
Oh yeah, I give like a little fun, something that most people don't really know about the organization. Like me and Mike really didn't know what we wanted to call the business, but we knew what we wanted the heart of the business to be, and really transformation. And I remember I was just sitting down, just writing a bunch of random acronyms down, and for some reason I had like my wife's initials on my booklet. It was like KYD, and I was like, man, F. That'd be Salomon Kids, and I was like, okay, so I just created like Conscious Youth Development and Service. It just had a nice ring to it, but hidden in that is my wife's initials, Krista Yvonne D'Souza Salomon. So that's kind of like a hidden layer of the name of kids.
Also manifest his wife there too.
Yeah.
Put that S on there, girl.
Yeah. Oh man.
So I think we met. So first of all, we just want to uplift and thank Brother Frank Syfax for bringing us all together. Because I remember we started the program here in Trenton, Minding Our Business, and his son Tracy was on the board, and he thought that this would work well in Asbury. So his father started coming up. And his father, Frank, God rest his soul, he made it his mission to get the program down in Asbury. And so I am so grateful for Frank for his perseverance and his determination to bring our program to Asbury. So once we brought it down to Asbury, we met with Roger Boyce, and then the program became the JET program, which was an offsuit of the Minding Our Business program. And I think it was the first year or the second year I met you, Mike, right?
Yeah, that was the very first. I remember the meetings in the Business Development Center.
Yes.
Putting this together. And I saw Frank out there, and he was like, "I got something for you." I was like, "Okay, what we got? What we got, Frank?"
Yes. So I love that experience. And then I think the second year you came on board to kind of like run it yourself, right? Or was it the third year?
Yeah, it was the second and third year, so it was like more of a transition time, where it was being adopted and kind of like interface was taking a step back, and we're moving towards more of the organization running it in that aspect. Now,
so you kind of stop with the JET program, you pick up the kids program, and now, so who are your clients and the people that you're trying to serve?
Oh yeah, man. So we JET was like a natural separation, but it definitely helped us strengthen our roots to be in a position to really do work at a higher level, like an initiation to say like, okay, y'all ready to do kids? Because that final year we did it was like a beautiful space.
Yes.
But currently, that's when we left our job in 2017. Mike left first because all these schools started to reach out to us and seeing if we could come in and work with some of their students, work with their staff, and I saw how abundant things were becoming. Yes. I took that leap of love as well too, and I left to do our job, do kids full time, and we got our first opportunity getting to do a school-based program in Asbury Park High School and Asbury Park Middle School, where we got to use the innovation. There's an organization called Holistic Life Foundation in Baltimore, and they had this program called a Mindful Moment Room, and we took their training that summer as well, and they had a lot of insight about creating a safe space within the building where kids could just, find a way to self-regulate, to become more self-aware of the challenges, but also develop healthy tools so that they can enter back into class without them triggering. Because whenever you see that negative behavior, there's always something deeper underneath there that's really the root cause that what we're seeing in the class, but it does affect learning time. So we were able to create that in our own unique way within the Asbury Park High School and in the middle school, but also we were working with the top 20% of students who were written up, suspended, or had poor attendance. And we had a program called Alternative Learning Lab where we went through this 8-week program from different curriculums that are evidence-based to really help these kids strengthen their own connection to themselves, to help process some of their deeper challenges and help them shift their mindset in a way that helps them evolve. And by being in there, we expanded out to the whole entire school district, having a mindful moment room in all of the schools in the district and also working with the top 20% of the kids who are having the most issues. And it was beautiful to see the transformation. And over those 3 years, more schools were hearing about us.
Yes.
And that has opened up more doors and more opportunities to the point where we've been over 80 schools, worked with over 10,000 youth, over 4,000 educators doing training development workshops, but also working with the schools and showing them how to create more conscious classrooms, how to bring more restoration into the building, and how to create more of a structure of wellness that's going to support these kids in dealing with the challenges, especially since the pandemic.
Wow. Let me stop you, Raj. First of all, brother, that's fantastic. I need you to slow down and break it down. What is the Mindful Moment Room, and how does a kid go to that?
I'll let Brother, I'll put a little alley-oop, Brother Mike, see if you can slam dunk this one.
Yeah, man. And the Mindful Moment Room is how it sounds. It's a mindful moment. It's a Zen den. It's a space for you to connect back to your peace. So it is not the typical classroom that you would walk into. It's a space that's infused with peace. All the sensory levels are meant to just reduce your nervous system as soon as you walk into the space, right?
Yes.
So the Mindful Moment Room is really just a space, a safe space for students, and educators to pop in just for that connection to peace, back to their balance, back to their breath, back to their body, right? And it's infused, with all of our decor around the room. But as soon as you come into space, one of our staff members greets you, gives you a nice warm welcome, and just really connects back to where you are right now, and just takes an inventory for how we are, checks our levels, and just understands, like, I'm coming from so many different spaces, maybe I just had an altercation, maybe I just had an argument, maybe I'm just tired and lethargic, right?
Okay, Mike,
so
let me stop you, because again, I need you to go even slower. So let me because I want to get this. Sounds good. I want to get this right. So here we are. I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios. It's the first few minutes of school. I got into an argument with my mother. Right. I'm walking to school. As soon as I walk through the school doors, I know I'm not going to have a good day. How do I go to the Mindful Moment room? Do I have to go to the principal? Do I have to go to my homeroom teacher? How do I go to your room? How do I come to your room?
Yeah, so you can actually ask your teacher. Should definitely give you a pass.
Okay.
Or at least know where you are. I know what the admin are heavily involved as well, so they can also refer you.
Okay.
But because the teacher, the admin, the security knew our presence in the building.
Yes.
But 9 times out of 10, they'll say, like, okay, come with me. I'll walk you over there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And
that's
the process.
Okay, that's the first scenario. Okay. Here I am. I'm just coming from gym. Got into a tussle with my classmate. I'm still feeling amped up. How do I go from the gym to the Mindful Moment room? Same process. I just go to the teacher and say, I need to calm down for a second, or I'm not feeling myself. How does that take place in that scenario?
I'll tell you this, right? Because yes, you need a pass, but out of the love of what we do, some of the kids will just come to us right off the bat, and we'll write them a pass, letting the teacher know the situation and what happened, just so it doesn't cause any other reference, because sometimes that rapport with the teacher is not the best, where that causes another incident. So sometimes they just stop in and just seeing our presence can actually diffuse a lot of that too.
Okay.
And I'll add to it as well, like it took us a few years to build the culture in the school where the kids trusted us,
Understood.
where the kids felt safe enough to come into the room, where sometimes we're roaming the hallways. We're not always in the room. We're in the gym with the kids.
Yes.
Being able to be in a space to kind of catch things in real time, where moments we're just going to go to the bathroom, next thing you know, we're helping de-escalate a situation.
Okay.
And showing the security guard, showing the staff, like, okay, man, like these kids, people really know how to support these kids, to the point where we're not in the building. These kids are like checking, like, man, where's Mr. Mike at? Where's Mr. Rodney at?
Yeah.
Where's Miss Erica?
Beautiful. And so my last scenario, right? Kid is in the classroom, and he's thinking about his mother. He's thinking about his home life. Can't concentrate. He's getting ready to take a test. Does he raise his hand, or does he just walk out with the understanding that the teacher will know that he's going to see you guys?
I would say, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say, best case scenario, that student will approach the teacher and say, I just need a moment, and they'll get that pass. But I will say this, based on our work, I said the 3 years for the student, but also for the staff, for their buy-in. We had a lot of staff who were very aware based on the work that we were doing with them. So they would actually refer some students as well, like, go see, Brother Rod, Brother Michael, Miss Erica, one of the team members.
Yes.
So that is one of the other best case scenario. I know Rod has some too.
Brothers, I love it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Roger. No, I'm just saying, I love it, man. Go ahead.
Nah, it's right along the lines, like, God willing, hopefully, like, seeing if the teacher knows that we have a rapport with them. Like, I would tell some teachers, like, hey, can y'all create like a nonverbal communication where that he's not just going out and sliding out the classroom and going to the bathroom, but he's gonna check in. And I'll give you a text. I'll call your room down, let you know that he's in here, because the goal is to kind of create some level of order and structure, but realizing, man, like, when you understand the traumas that a lot of these kids are going through, it's like you mentioned, it's not easy to sit still and to pay attention, because your brain is not going to function when it's dealing with that amount of stress or pain that's on the inside.
Now, next question. Since the pandemic and since we're coming back into being in person with the learning, do you find that a lot more students are dealing with trauma?
Universal, across the board. Yeah. Just across the board. And things that weren't dealt with before the pandemic are magnified right now.
Okay. And so do you see like your workload increasing? Is there a greater need for you guys to be in this space now that you've created already?
I would say the universe gave us an alley-oop, you know, and like I said, we saw all this before the pandemic. There were a lot of things that people were just not, it was okay because we were getting by.
Yes.
But I think the pandemic just removed the Band-Aid to a lot of the wounds that we were hiding. And it's like, man, and it amplified it times 10. When you look at the research of being isolated, if you look at the research of not being able to see people's facial features and seeing their body language, how that affects like your social and like even your emotional well-being. And now these kids are showing like, man, like they need coping skills. They need tools to be resilient because some folks are getting eaten alive. You hear the stories, what admin are telling us about, man, they got kids in high schools having fentanyl overdoses. I'm just like, man, all that tells me is they just want to feel, you know, like they just want to connect back to that space where they can feel good by any means. And it's like, okay, is there a pathway that could potentially bring you back in a more holistic way that's not going to do harm to yourself or anyone around you? That's that space of peace.
Okay, now let's talk about you guys, right? Several questions. How did you guys meet? How did you guys connect? And how did you guys feel the energy of one another to say, hey, you know, this is my partner. We can work this. We can create this together. I want to hear that story now.
Which story you want to give him, Rod?
Which lifetime?
Oh, man. No, it's written in the stars, man. It's written in the stars.
Okay.
I'm gonna start at Monmouth. If you want to go to the AAU, right?
Brother. Go to AAU.
Oh, yeah, man. Why don't you say, hey,
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Okay, it's crazy. Like we didn't even. You gonna start it? You got it, or me?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was funny because like we look back, like we didn't consciously know this, right?
Yes.
But we look back on the timeline and history, and it came to find out we were on the same AU basketball team.
Wow.
You know, and growing up, and I'm like, wow. You know, I wasn't consciously aware, Brother Rodney wasn't consciously aware of me.
Yes.
You know, but even deeper than that, it's crazy because I'm gonna tell my mom's story. Right? You know, my mom and pops, they used to always create like a little scrapbook of all the times my name was mentioned for sports in the paper or something like that.
Yes.
And come to find out, my father's looking through a scrapbook.
Yes.
And he sees a picture and stats of Rodney Salomon.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, before we even knew each other, this is we're talking years, you know. So even our parents had some connection to this, you know. But on the same AU basketball team, fast forward, we had Monmouth University together. If you want to hit that, Brother Rod.
Oh yeah, like Monmouth is not the largest, melanin African American Black population. So whenever you see a brother, it's always like an honorary head nod. Like whether y'all chopping it out or being cool, it's just respect because you know we gotta stick together. But by all means, and we play intramural basketball. We always play against each other. So like Mike was more involved in campus. I was a football player at Monmouth, but it was just like always like a natural pass. And then flash forward, right? I'm working at Asbury Park High School as a youth development specialist, and I would take my students every month to a local soup kitchen.
Yes.
And that same, it's having to be the same soup kitchen that Brother Mike, he worked at the Fulfill, well, it was a FoodBanks, but now it's called Fulfill.
Yes.
And he would come in and spend his time just to kind of check in on the community that he was serving. And like for about a year, every month when I was there, he just happened to be there. Some months, not all the time, but it always aligned just synchronistically. Like we wouldn't plan a text like, y'all gonna be here this week, I will be here. And like we were just like, you know, he would talk to the kids I was working with. We would just talk about what we see on the challenges in the world. And we remember like, man, like it's not doing us any good complaining about what we see. It's like, man, like what can we do about what we see? And the beautiful part was we were both on this journey of awakening ourselves on a holistic level, like changing our diet, changing how we think, reading books and more philosophy and different books of wisdom that transform how we even process our idea of life. And we were like, man, in a short amount of time in that year, we both just accelerated growth tenfold just by sticking to that path. And we're like, yo, I think we can share this with our students, because the system is not providing them the nourishment they need for their soul. Like, we give them the food, we give them the money, we give them the resources, but they're going to keep coming in the same pattern if they're not transforming from the inside out.
Yes.
And the more we study, learn about different indigenous ways and cultures, we're like, our ancestors have been doing this forever. And it's just, for some reason, we have forgotten the simple and practical ways to bring us back to light. So that is kind of how we kind of crossed paths, and we started meeting. And I think every Monday for about 4 years, upstairs, second floor Wegmans, we have like a space that has our names forever etched in stone.
Yes.
Where we just met and we just shaped and we molded. We created community events. We just started taking these tools into spaces, first in the community for free. By doing a summer program where it was like, we just want to get this out there, man. We started doing meditation shit, doing open mic nights, and then from there, it's been like, we say soul brothers. Although we're not blood, we come from the same stars that really show the same king. Because some folks might not be able to tell, is that Rodney talking or is that Mike talking?
Yeah. Wonderful, man. Wonderful. Listen, I love your energy. I'm a little jealous, man, because, man, I love it. I love it. That's all right. So when did you know that you had something hot that you could really charge for? When did that point connect?
I think because there's one thing that our hearts were always in the community, and we always believed that these tools shouldn't cost a thing.
Okay.
Right. But we know in 2017, especially when schools are reaching out, and now we're talking about, they asking us what's our price. We say, a couple $100. I remember our first check, we split it. Little did we know there's more abundance coming through. But I was like, man, these school budgets are infinite, and they spend money on things that don't have the same impact as we do. So imagine, we really made this work. And, from my eyes, it was like, man, this is no brainer.
Yes.
School-based programs, they had the funds for them. It's much needed. We know now that it's not even just needed, but it's almost required, because you need this other half in education for a person to be whole.
Yes.
And even just the workforce and all the work that we do and in the community, we know, okay, this is how you create a whole individual.
Yes.
Not just the academic setting, but the other pieces too, the emotional awareness, the emotional intelligence and things of that sort. So we knew 2017 was like, especially when they were asking, it was like, oh, okay, because we were doing some things for free, but we realized, okay, this could be some money here.
This could be lucrative.
Based on Brother Rod's work as a school youth development specialist in Asbury Park, right? He actually was helping create the wellness initiative that we facilitated and got a contract in.
Okay.
So they needed someone to do that. And we got our first full-time contract. We were like, okay, we made it, but little do we know there's a little bit more, to the top,
So where do we go now? Are we going to expand outside of Asbury, outside of Jersey?
I'm gonna say, I think in divine timing, it will happen and take place.
Yes.
But I truly believe now that we have much more clarity on what we learned and studied, that our focus is on how do we create more of us, right? Because we know that we can't be in every single school. We know we can't be inside of every single classroom, but we can empower more people to embody these tools and really starting to become leaders in that dimension, where a lot of our focus in school-based programs is training and developing staff, because if we know that they can embody this self-awareness, this self-regulation, this heartfulness, if they know how to yield tools to restore restoration and connection, that our energy will be living on in a lot more greater capacity. But we do see in the near future us doing more keynote speaking and more workshops, traveling the country and providing that larger scale training to help create this consciousness in as many spaces as possible.
Awesome. I love it.
Can I celebrate something real quick?
Absolutely, man.
Because Rob mentioned it, but we are actually the keynote speakers for the conference of the New Jersey Education Association this summer.
When is that coming up?
And it's July 13th.
Yes.
So I had to celebrate that, because that's showing that our voice is going statewide.
Yeah.
And educators all over the state will hear our impact and our work, and just mainly our stories of healing.
Yes. And I was going to mention before you mentioned that, and certainly congratulations. When we started to expand our program, we created the Train the Trainer, because we knew that we wanted to be in multiple places, but we knew that we just couldn't do it. And so for us, we did the train the trainer, and we did that over a weekend period. So I agree with you guys. Use your passion, use your energy to facilitate further growth. And so I think that you guys are going to have to get a couple of secretaries, a couple of administrative assistants. When you come back from this workshop, being a keynote speaker in July, you're going to have more work than you ever can imagine, brother. That's speaking into existence, right? I'm speaking into existence for you guys.
I feel it.
Yeah. Oh my God. You may have to hire me as a consultant. I'll come back around.
Oh man, I was gonna say, how do we get that legal? The franchisee out there.
Yeah, but I tell you, man, and here's the other thing too. You guys are I guess like Nubian kings. So when you walk through the room, there's a physical presence, right? That people just want to know, how do I connect with you guys? And so I certainly do appreciate that. So now let me ask this question, right? What has been the number one challenge in terms of kids getting off the ground?
That's a good one. And this may sound like, I'm not going to say strange, but this is like the honest, authentic response.
Yes.
I think the best thing with working with Brother Mike and the years of why we've been able to, because we had a lot of folks come on and be a part of this team that ain't stick around for the whole show. Like if we do a documentary, but me and Mike never really looked at things as challenges.
Okay.
We always saw these as like pit stops to our growth. We like, okay, what's the universe trying to tell us through this situation? There's been times where we had 20 staff members. We had to pay them on November 1st, and we haven't gotten a paycheck from any of the schools, and we're about to have $0 in our bank account. We're like, okay, man, how are we going to go about doing this? And it's like, okay, we just said what Spirit said. We got to be righteous, right? We got to be honest. We got to be authentic and really stepping up. And I think we got a lot of great training and development through those years that help prepare us to learn how to be leaders. But I say the biggest challenge, honestly, is me showing up and being as disciplined and organized on an individual level. Okay. Because I saw after like year 4 or 5 that, man, whatever is happening within me at the micro level is expanded out at the macro level. The more my life is structured, the more disciplined I am, the more focused I am to make time to really expand myself in this field as a leader, the more that it will begin to reflect outwards. And sometimes you're not always perfect. Sometimes you're not always motivated. And it's just like having that challenge of always having to show up in your full self, and knowing what you have to do. Like you telling folks to do all this, and they may look at me like it's all easy, but I'm like, man, I go through a similar struggle, just probably at a more subtle level that you might be facing, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, have you ever come across an administrator who says this is not going to work, but I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to try it anyway?
I mean, that's how it worked out, but not in that explicit way.
Yeah.
But if you knew it would work, you would do it for yourself, right?
Got you.
And it wouldn't have to be an outside coming in. It would come from the inside because you would embody it yourself, right? Okay. And I think that's the shift and change we're seeing right now, because now they understand it has to start with me. Yes. Has to start with the leadership, as above so below. So it's like, man, what can I embody as these tools, to be the example of what it looks like, because these kids aren't just growing up based on the knowledge that we're giving them, but based on the embodiment that we're showing them.
Yes.
So we have to understand, okay, we have to be the teaching in action. Yes. Right. So there's been a lot of times where it's like, we come into a room, they're like, yeah, good luck, whether it be full educators or youth. It's like, yeah, this is our worst class, so these teachers ain't having it today. And we leave there, man, they all smiles, they love, they're like, tears, having triumph moments. And I'm like, man, it's so easy, but it's like, it's not even a challenge, but the only challenge is on the inner level. And that's the only thing I've seen in administrators across the board. And there are a few other examples as well.
And I would say, like, from 2014, 2017, it was swimming upstream. Okay. Like, it wasn't a lot of buy-in. There was a lot of folks that were still stuck in old ways of how things are operating. But what was still clear was, man, schools were not able to be functional at a level where kids were showing up and having the behavior that they wanted. So we knew the science behind it. Like, you couldn't tell. I knew how breathing and self-regulating affects how your brain functions. I know that if you're stressed out, you can't access the higher parts of your brain that really allow you to execute at a test score. So these schools were so left brain, like we wanted to focus on test scores. Like there's even a school we offered a free package that would probably be about $5,000-$7,000,
yes,
and we raised money for that. They were like, you know what, the pandemic hit, we got to get these kids ready for these tests. I was like, you think they're gonna pass these tests if they're stressed like that?
Yeah.
You know, so we were so, like, we knew what we were doing was going to make an impact, and it didn't matter what the reality was showing us. It's kind of like, I call it Kanye crazy.
Yeah.
I saw the power of what the world was going to be like the more we were able to get inside of a building, get inside of a school, and every opportunity we got, me and Mike said, is get us in a room.
Yes.
That's all we need for you to do.
Yes.
Put us in front of the superintendents. We have them all breathing and shaking their body, and next thing you know, it opens up even more doors. And once me and Mike got put into certain rooms where folks who really have power,
yes,
that's when we started to see. And that took time, but it's just our belief in our faith and what our mission was. And we didn't let anything kind of shut that out of us, because we saw the little victories we were getting in so many different spaces in the community and in the schools we were connected to.
Awesome. Now, let's take a break. Let me just ask this question, right? While you are pouring into the youth and the administrators, how do you guys check out and pour into one another and allow yourselves to be the next better version of yourselves? How do you guys do that? And when do you decide that you need to do a retreat to create better for yourself? How do you guys do that?
It's just kind of funny because we were just talking today before we got to, and Bob calls it, self-optimization, right? And, we're constantly talking about things that are bettering ourselves. We're constantly, when we meet, we're not just meeting on the work, but meeting on the inner work as well.
Got you.
Of checking in how we're doing. And we know when it's like, okay, it's a little rough right now. And the little test right now, it's a little rocky right now, and then there's a lot of other things, like we have families, we have things like that we're tending to, but at the end of the day, we had that charge, like you said earlier, the kings walking into the beloved kings walking into the space, they feel that like force, and I know where to access that space, so we're constantly checking in and just building that capacity, and that capability to do more, to build more, and it's like we talk about heaven on earth, it's not going to come easy, and it comes with a little bit of struggle, a little bit of tension, and that tension is only the growth and the evolution from within, so we're constantly feeding each other, right, and learning and growing, at the same time the organization is, like Rod said earlier, it's not going to grow beyond our capacity of our own growth. Got you.
And I'll get some of the trade secrets. I know Mike was kind of holding back those tools. We talk about self-care, but I say, like, me and Mike, we know how to take care of our stuff. Like, It's very rarely that you're going to see us tip below, or we might be sad or upset or angry, but that vibration is not going to linger for a prolonged period of time. So we can like the self-optimization is like, okay, before I had kids, we were going to this thing called Vipassana. It's an 11-day silent meditation retreat. And I was able to do 3 of them. And I know Mike has done, I think, 3 or 3.5 of them himself as well. And those are spaces that take us away from this world where we can seek refuge in that space Mike is talking about. That's that peace. When we're at home, we go to spaces like Zen Den on our own time. Because our check-ins, we're talking about, like, hey, what'd you do this week? He's like, okay, I did the sauna. I'm like, smack, I didn't even think about doing the sauna. So now I'm doing the sauna at Zen Den. I'm getting some cupping. I'm going to the float tank. Brother Mike's going to the salt room. So we may not have a lot of time to ourselves. Sometimes it's turned up. But the time that we do have with self is productive. Like we're reading books that are constantly nourishing our mind. We're watching content and we're like talking about it. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm grabbing that book that Mike's talking about, and things that I'm doing. I'm going through a cleanse. Mike's doing a cleanse, and we know that our diet, like, we eat at a pretty healthy level, but we always know that the more we improve this diet, like Mike just said to me today, he's like, man, like when I'm empty, like that's when I know it. That's the divine Mike that comes out, and it's just like us having that awareness. And like I'll say, from year 1 to where we're at now, it's like the stock market, a little up, down, but the floor is a lot higher than it was when we first began the journey. And it's just where every conversation is elevating, because that's kind of like how we kind of keep ourselves in that space.
Now, speaking of diet, how did you convince the dietitians at the local school district to embrace some of your diet training, your dietetic needs or changes?
I'm gonna tell you this, man. They're finally doing changes right now.
Okay.
They're finally doing change right now, and I'm actually connecting with 2 people in Sodexo in the school based upon work that I'm doing in the community around bringing organic food to families through local farms. And the chef is like, he called me up and said, like, how can we start like a vegan club? Because I know I need to educate these kids before we could just serve vegan food, And it's just like, you see that, and I thought we get this all the time. You think that candy is cute. Yeah, they might like you, but who's going to have to pay for that sugar the next block? With that processed food you're giving them. And every training we're in is just like, how do we promote that? Because if you can't just say, eat this delicious, kale salad, or can't eat this delicious vegan taco, if you don't have a connection to why this even has a value. So that was a battle that we did not really conquer, or we knew that we had to approach like playing a chess game, because it deals with the Board of Education. It deals with the who orders the food and what quality they choose, and state requirements. And a lot of these kids are on free or reduced lunch based upon the demographics. So the quality of food that they choose in those demographics are always nothing higher than grade like C within the selection of a menu from grade A, B, C, D. So it's like we learned these things by going to these like these board meeting presentations at Atlantic City, and I was like, I never even knew that there's a high quality choice of food you can get within a school. But now you see it makes so much sense. But when you realize how important your diet is for you to deal with your emotions, how you can focus and concentrate, I think schools are starting to become more aware about, man, what are we giving these kids that might be feeding into the same behaviors we don't want to experience?
Yes. Man, listen, brothers, I am so glad you guys are at the forefront. Man, this is fantastic. Man, I'm not going to even tell you how I check in and de-cleanse.
We got something for you, brother.
Listen, you don't have nothing for me that tequila can't solve, brother. I'm trying to tell you. So that's why.
All right, man, that's a journey. You might take something from this call that might even be like a smidgen that be like, okay, it could be a 1% upgrade.
Yeah. No, I had to throw that in there, man, because I was waiting for the moment I could throw that in there. I got it in there. That was my zinger. I am so proud of you guys, man. So now, how does a administrative retreat look like when you take the school body away? Where do you guys go? Is it still within the state of New Jersey? Where do you guys go for this retreat?
For our own internal?
I'm sorry?
For our own internal well-being?
No, not for you guys, not for your own internal, but for the staff, the administrative staff when you're working at a school. Where do you guys take them?
It's kind of funny because we were just talking about that, right? and like, cause we don't have like per se like that retreat function yet.
Okay.
But we're talking about Puerto Rico or taking them to a distant land, so we can dive in a little bit deeper, and harmonize it. But I know it's like the superintendent schedule, it's hard enough to like get a meeting, but we know that we have to put something in place for those individuals to really, because me and Rob, our journey went in deep. You just said earlier, 11 days in silence, almost 7-8 hours of meditation a day, so we know that it's going to take that capacity and that space to actually really, truly transform from the inner self.
Okay.
So that's something that's on our radar as far as what we're putting together.
I've got one for you guys because I've used this place a lot. Have you ever heard of Blairstown?
No.
Okay, so Blairstown is a campground run by Princeton University. It's in Blairstown, New Jersey.
Oh, is that where
Blair Academy is at? Is that where Blair Academy is?
Yeah, it's right up the hill. Right up the hill. Yeah. And they've been in operations for maybe, I want to say 30, 40 years, maybe even 50 years, right? And so as your first level or your first phase, right, you've got this whole wilderness, you've got this lake, you've got cabins, so there's no TV, there's no electricity after a certain hour. I mean, that could be an inexpensive way that you can get greater buy-in and maybe just have start off with 1 day, 2 day, 3 day retreat. where you just
you got to send us an I'm grateful for the information. If you could share that with us, something to look into.
Yeah. And then they've got, they got campgrounds where you can do dam rappelling. You can do all kind of other things, or you could just walk in the wilderness and just sit in the grass, and because when you at nighttime, right, you can see all the stars in the sky because the area is completely dark. And they did this exercise for us, right? They said that we're going to allow you to keep your flashlight with you, because I've taken a group of kids here for a long time. We're going to allow you to keep your flashlight with you for the first half an hour of darkness. And we're going to allow you to keep your flashlight on. After it gets completely dark, cut the flashlight off and see how better you can see without your flashlight. And the kids were like amazed, just little tricks. So I can imagine you guys coming to the scene with your exercise and your protocol. Oh my God. You are going to facilitate and change and have greatness upon you guys, man, for changing those lives, man. And so you guys might be an hour away, hour and a half away, because that's up there by Delaware Gap, Blairstown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not far at all.
So I'll send you some information, man, because I would love to have you do like a 3-day or 1 weekend retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get you started, right? And then once they see the progression, then you can hit them with the bigger trips. Start going to Puerto Rico, Arizona, and really get into it deep. But just to get them to have a 3-day, quick buy-in where they don't feel like I'm not too far away from home. I think you guys can do real great work that way, man. Yeah. And at the same time, they, you can tell them the kind of meals that you want them to create, because they have the staff that could do that for you.
Okay.
Because
take a retreat for myself down there. Get some personal stuff.
Yeah.
Bring my family down for a first one.
No, I would take my parents there. From the MOB program. So I took the parents there one night because they couldn't stay away that long. So I took them there for an overnighter, and then the kids stayed for the whole weekend.
Wow.
And
Brother Mike, we could do our journey program maybe like a weekend.
Yeah.
I just thought of that too, man. That was like, you did the blueprint, man.
Yeah.
And maybe invite the parents for a day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have the kids come through. Okay, we could do something dope.
Yeah.
Even just like a regular space to go out and I'm gonna check it out then.
Yeah.
I put it in my phone as a little Google too.
And we were using the space for team building, right? So you have everything is built around team building, but you still can do team building exercises, but just implementing, what you want them to also learn and discover and walk away with as well. So they've got the high wired axe, they got the rappelling, where everything is, they got the trust fall, and everything is built around teamwork. Even when you go to the cafeteria, right? Every day or every meal, you pick 2 or 3 people that will serve the rest of the team. Somebody goes up and picks up the milk or the water, the knife, the spoons, the cups. Someone's responsible for taking that off. Someone's responsible for bringing the dessert. Someone's responsible for putting it all in the cleaners. I mean, not in the cleaners, but in the recycling bins and things of that nature. So yeah, it's a wonderful time, man. Yeah. Yeah, so
you just gave us a blueprint, brother.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know I was the third partner. Yeah, see, listen, when you're meditating at a higher level with the tequila, man, you can become partners with anybody. Brothers, listen, man. I love you guys, man. And I'm so excited because I met you guys when the idea was just coming to fruition. And so to see it and to hear it now, I'm like, this is fantastic. So whatever I can do to assist. Oh, I know I had this one other question, right? Have you ever thought about talking to your local police precinct? Right? Because there could be another pool of money, because this is another way to engage our young folks, right? Have you thought about that?
I'll say this. Yes. I took a restorative justice training with the Monmouth County Judicial Department.
Yes.
And that is their, probation, that is their prison, the judiciary system. So in that training, they had some police officers from every precinct, and they were very raw and honest, because it's like more of a heart-connected space.
Yes.
And so, and Long Branch are doing some innovative things of learning how to de-escalate situations that are nonviolent communications. And they were just saying that, you know, the police force is almost there where they're open to ways of this way of being, you know, where it's more about the mindfulness and all those kind of stuff, where there's opportunities. And there were a couple of police officers that I actually got to connect with who are climbing up the ranks. I'm like, man, when you become a sergeant, this is when I see these things being more even present, because some of these young cops, they had that essence in their heart where they see the need for the force, but also seeing the need that there could be a better way of how we handle some of these situations.
Absolutely.
So from their feedback, they were definitely open. They're like, there's definitely some folks in leadership that probably need to transition in a lot of these spaces, but they do see a future where, like, it's only a matter of time until this energy enters into those spaces.
Awesome. So listen, with the time that we have left, I'm going to give you this open platform. Share with us where you think you're going to be a year from now, 3 years from now.
So it's an echo. Yeah, man. And I say the journey of awakening, transformation, you know, and that abundance is growing more than ever right now.
Yes.
You know, but I see us, you know, really creating that deeper layer impact, you know, where we are right now in Asbury Park and throughout the state of New Jersey.
Yes.
You know, but it's you know, we understand that we can only have so much of that awakening happening in schools. If I'm only working with you 20, 30 minutes, you know, per day or per week, you know, it's going to take those deeper layers, you know, going out into the forest, going out into the nature, you know, to really have that awakening. So I see us having our own establishment, you know, to create our own blueprint, you know, even outside of school systems, you know, even though we can collectively still work in school systems and change the systems from within, you know, but also creating our systems outside, you know, and creating a space where it's not just a regular space, but this is a space for you to engage every part of your being, to wake up every cell, every bone, that spirit inside of your body, you know, where we have some of the higher levels of even technology, you know, and some of the higher levels of transformation and condition, those modalities that really bring you to those spaces where you can truly heal, you know, because when you talk about trauma, it's not going to happen, especially the deeper layers to trauma, it's not going to happen in school systems. You know, it's not going to happen after school or at lunchtime. So it's going to happen out in the community, you know, a space where we're able to offer that safe space and that brave space for you to journey inside and to your soul and really connect back home. Brother Rod has to.
I'm going to add some sugar on top, man. I see us, you know, we're having our first keynote July 13th, but I see us doing multiple keynote speakings across the state, but also starting to expand and doing some of these speakings across the country. You know, I see us having our training and development program, fully activated Conscious Education, which we're looking to launch in the summertime to start to give the educators or youth workers or folks in the community to gain skills of the foundation that we have learned and seen in real time, transform people from the inside out, from kids in kindergarten all the way to administrators and superintendents. And then essentially, man, empowering more soldiers to do this work in schools, but us doing it in spaces where we can truly work with leadership from the top down. And then lastly, like starting the phases of us either breaking ground or opening our doors. So like Mike said, our own wellness center, you know, a space that can have the space where we can take advantage to build a community where we can be more active and not have to always depend on other people, but also begin to show you a different way holistically that can transform you on a physical, mental, and emotional level. If you got any connections that can help bring that idea to life, man, please share us, let us know. But that is the biggest vision, is really stepping into creating our own space and having that home.
Awesome. So give us the name of the group now, kids, and what does it mean? And give us a contact.
Kids, KYDS, Conscious Youth Development and Service. You know, that is our mission to transform youth, schools, and communities through holistic practices. And you can reach us at, you know, info@consciouswithak.org. Our website is www.consciouswithak.org. You know, and our Instagram is KYDS_NJ. Facebook, KYDS.NJ. But if you are really looking for us, look inside the stars. You'll find us.
Yes, sir.
Look to the stars. You will find us. But definitely reach out, connect.
Yes.
And our emails, our contacts are on the website. So we'd love to build with you and to build from our community to yours. To build that more balanced world.
Brother Mike, Brother Roger, you guys are fantastic. I love you and thank you, man. Thank you. So let's stay connected, right? Please. And let's help each other because there may be some contacts that I have as well.
Oh man, we love you too, brother. Thank you for having us on. We appreciate it, and I would love to. I can't wait to even hear this copy to just play this back, share with the people that we love and appreciate as well. So
absolutely. So let's talk and text a little later on.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Peace now.
Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.